Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Grit. I am Jason Harwood. Over there is Jacob Litton. What did I say? Mitten? Litton?
Talk. What's
Litton?
the deal?
I can't do it. Now, I'm so excited about this win. 44-22. It was the type of game that we wanted to see, Jacob. I know that Washington's dealing with their injuries. They didn't care about our injuries last January. We don't care about their injuries right now. We took it to them, and they felt so bad they started getting themselves kicked out of the game on purpose.
Right. They gave up a couple touchdowns. They were like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm getting bullied. Panay Sewell's being mean to me. Let me just throw a punch and get out of here.
Yeah, let's just be done. Hit Amon-Ra. Brian Branch did the same thing, but it was after a game. Deron Payne decided to do it right in the middle of the game, right in front of the referee. It was great. It was great theater.
Yeah, right. I guess.
The Lions won 44-22. Jacob and I are feeling good. Obviously, the biggest story coming out of this game is Dan Campbell taking over the play calling duty. We are going to save our comments on that for when we get to the offense section so that we're just not talking about the same thing over again when we get to that section. Obviously, we got lots of thoughts on that. I know I did right during the game as, we slowly started to realize that Dan Campbell was taking over play calling. But it was a shock to us all. I was just on the Command This podcast, and they asked me if we knew that was coming, and absolutely not. I think the only people that knew that was coming was in that building.
Absolutely. There was not any sort of hint, anywhere that it was coming. So much so, in fact, that it was as the game was going on, people weren't for sure. Right? I mean, There was, all the talk like, okay, he's got a play call sheet. Is this normal? Is he usually doing that? The announcers are talking about it. The beat writers are talking about it. So plenty more to digest with that.
Yep, for sure. So I want to thank everybody that's following us live on YouTube. You can also catch us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and we'll release that obviously the next day after, or just catch our video on YouTube. That'd be awesome. It's right on the screen there, youtube.com/@TalkingGrit. You can also follow us on Twitter @TalkingGritPod. Remember to like and subscribe, hit that notification so you know exactly when we're going on. Jacob, there were some transactions, one big one today that a lot of people are going to be interested in, and then some that led up to the game. So why don't you tell people what's going on there?
Transactions leading up to the game. So we did waive safety Jamie Robinson, and we activated safety Daniel Thomas from injured reserve. So Daniel Thomas is a special teamer. He was only out there on special teams, but important player for us. We activated him. We also elevated offensive lineman Michael Neese from the practice squad to the active roster for this game. I'm assuming this next one is the one that you're talking about, but I don't know for sure. So we did sign Ahmed Hassanin back to the practice squad.
Yeah.
So he was obviously a draft pick. He got injured. He was waived with the injury settlement. There were some behind the scenes things. It sounded like he was going to be back at some point, and then here we are. He's back on the practice squad. But then to round up the transactions with a little bit of a negative news is that Terrion Arnold is in the concussion protocol. And we're going to need him for that Philadelphia game. So we're hoping that Terrion's okay.
I agree. That was stink. We knew Terrion was out. I didn't know about the concussion until today. He was asked about it, and as he was leaving the press conference, Dan Campbell. But yeah, I was alluding to the Ahmed Hassanin signing to the practice squad. That is something that we all anticipated ever since training camp ended, right? When Brad Holmes dropped that he will be a Lion. It's finally happened. So he's back healthy. He's going to, I don't know if we're going to see him on the field this year. I'd be kind of surprised outside of an injury to see him out on the field, but getting him snaps, getting him rep with NFL talent will be huge for his development leading into next year's training camp.
Definitely. You said it. Hopefully there's no injuries. There's no urgent need to get him out there. But, yeah, somebody that was with us with training camp and somebody we really like. So we'll see.
Yep. Yeah. All right. We're going to start out with special teams. Jacob, you got anything that you want to hit on there first?
I'll just say this was the negative part of the game for me was the special teams again. It's something to do with these kick returns. Something needs to change. And, Jacob Sailors was injured. He was not out there. So they had Khalif and Vaki out there returning kicks, right? And then Khalif actually, I think he only returned one, but it was a big hit. And then Khalif ended up getting up, and the guy that hit him was down. So,
Yeah.
But it was kind of the same thing where it was just, we're running full speed ahead. And then when we get hit, that's when we're going down. And that's where we'll take the ball. But I do want to say, I like that we exploited that rule. So the kickoff rule, after the 15-yard penalties, after the unnecessary roughness and everything that happened, you just kick it out of bounds, and then the team has to start at the 25, right?
Yes.
So we did that twice. We utilized that in this game. So,
I know.
Shouts out to Dave Phipp. Obviously, it's his job for knowing what's going on, when to utilize that. But that was the lone bright spot for me. Obviously, Jake Bates had an extra point blocked. He was 3 for 3 on field goals, but they were low again, right? I mean, it just was the one, barely caught the corner inside. I mean, it was only 12, I think it's 10 foot tall as the bottom of the crossbar. And this was only 12 feet in the air when it crossed. So I don't know what's going on with that. What are your thoughts? I mean, multiple low kicks almost every time. The 48-yarder obviously looked normal, but the two short ones and the extra points just felt like they were all low.
Yeah. Phipp said that it usually means the kicker's hitting it a little high on the ball and it's driving it low. I mean, that's what led to the block field goal last week.
Right.
And then, this week he got the extra point. That was same thing, got blocked. And then, he's lucky. I don't know if it was a 22 or 28 yarder that he hit low like that. But we're lucky that wasn't blocked too. Cause that was,
very low,
very, very low. And so I know that there was some rain and stuff on the field, but it doesn't make me feel as confident going into those kicks. Cause especially, you get a block. You saw what happened in the Vikings. They returned it 41 yards and set them up for a score. It's not only do you miss the kick, but then you set them up for a prime opportunity.
Yeah, we don't need to give them any more short fields.
Yeah. So did you know that rule that you were speaking of, Gus kick out of bounds because we kicked it off from the 50. Did you know that that they were going to get it at the 25 when he kicked it out of bounds like that?
No. I was like, what are we doing? We just blew the penalty. We blew the position. Did you know or no?
Yeah. I did not know, and I was pissed. And then Preston's like, no, they get it at the 25. Preston knew. He knew the rule. I don't know if it's from a YouTube video or whatever, but my 14-year-old told me, he's like, no, they're gonna get it at the 25. So he knew.
Good for Preston, because I don't even think the announcer said it right away, right? That was not explained.
Yeah. No, it was not. So it's got to be 25 yards. I think it's 25 yards from where they kick it is where they get the ball at. So we kicked it from the 50. That's why they got it there.
I think it's at 35 half the distance, right? It's just half the distance.
I don't think so, because I think it's 25 yards, because we normally kick it at the 35. So that's why they get it at the 40. And so I think I thought that was the rule, and that's why they got it there. But
I guess I need to refresh that again, because I don't know that.
So when we get to the all 22, actually, I don't, Jacob, I know you were probably working today, did see it, but on that big return, there was an obvious hold. I don't know if you caught it live on the replay or not, but there was a hold that should have been called, pretty blatant hold that should have been called. That's why we gave out the 46-yarder.
Who was it
I'm
on?
still convinced that.
Because I remember his shoulder pads were all messed up, right? He was.
Yes. Oh, yes. He's just. I'll show you the video later on. It is pretty blatant that it happens. Or you can check out, if you're listening, you check out the Twitter feed. It's right on there. I slow mo it. It's pretty obvious. Whiteside was put in an impossible position to stop that. Guy had so much space, and he had to try to slow him up. He didn't. If there was, I think he would have still got out to the 40, 45, but he wouldn't have got all the way out to as far as he did.
Well,
like you, I'm happy.
Then they would have, they'd have brought it back, obviously.
Yes, right. And, Jack Fox was lazy, good for nothing, no punts. I don't know what's this guy doing, man. These punters keep getting paid more and more, but they're punting less and less because everyone's going for it on fourth down now.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Exactly. So, all right, I think we could sign off on special teams. Let's get over to the defense. Where do you want to start here?
I just want to know, before we dive in deep, I want to know what your initial thought, because we had a text exchange during the game. And, okay. I said, I was like, you said, I think your words were something along the lines of, I have to remind myself that, it's the Commanders and that they're, struggling and everything. And I said, well, yes, but we're doing what we're supposed to do. I mean, we were crushing them and we seem to be firing on all cylinders. And then you said the defense was not firing on all cylinders. So I want to know, I mean, you must have had more time to review things today. Do you still feel that way? Do you feel like the defense was struggling in this game?
I would not say struggle. I think struggling is too harsh of a word. What I didn't like is the explosive plays that we gave up.
Right.
So I think that they gave them life, because I think it's one of those things, if we don't let those explosive plays happen, they aren't going to be able to march down the field and score on us. It's just not going to happen. They weren't able to run. They had some decent run plays. They were decent in the run game. Like I said, coming in, they were a strong running team, but I think we just gave up. Now, some of them were crazy plays, like that just fell in the right place. Like I remember Zach Ertz had one that was amazing, and then they had the deep shot to Chosen on the left hash or in the left sideline there.
Even the pass
Rocky
to Debo
Sin
was a perfect ball, but yeah.
The wait till I don't think you probably saw this either, but Rocky Sin, I put this on Twitter too. Rocky Sin, like I don't know if you saw the where he got a flag thrown on him for pass interference, and he was arguing that like he was pass interfered on. He has every right to. I'm not saying that he didn't pass interfere back, but the offensive guy yanks on his face mask, and it's blatant as all get out. And then I think at that point, Rocky Sin grabs him like because he's catching
he's about to fall down.
And so it's pretty blatant. But I think I feel better about the defense on a rewatch. However, I am still disappointed that we gave up those big plays, and 3 for 3 in the red zone. They were 3 for 3 touchdowns in the red zone. I would have liked to see us to get down. Some miscommunication down there led to one touchdown, the Deebo Samuel touchdown.
Yeah, that like I saw, because I record this as it was going. That really just seems like Brian Branch missed that assignment. Like everyone else is in man, and Branch for whatever reason is trying to pass him off. So yes, that one was kind of ugly, but really they had 5 long plays. So Mariota had completions of 41 yards, 30 yards, 37 yards, 17 yards, 19 yards. But they also had, I think, 4 or 5 other deep shots that they did not complete. So that just seemed to be part of their game plan. They weren't running the ball very well, so they were like, let's just start taking some shots. I know you already said that one, like, Thomas Harper has decent coverage on Ertz when Ertz makes that catch. Yes. That was a crazy catch. He had to make a perfect throw to Debo. You already talked about the pass interference one, but I mean, you take away 1 or 2 of those, and all of a sudden, like, those are drive killers. Because I think on every touchdown drive they had to nail one of those long plays. They were not able to move the ball.
That's how they got down into the scoring. Even on that kickoff return, the long one, they only got a field goal on that, because they didn't get any explosive plays on that. I just, two of the touchdowns they got were on 4th down. So that's disappointing that we stopped them for 3 downs, and then you can't get the last one. So again, it's nitpicking. We're up by a lot, but I would like, against the Eagles next week, I don't want to see a repeat 3 for 3 in the red zone. We're going to need to stop them, because maybe their defense isn't going to be as good. I don't know. Shutting down the Packers right now. Right. 0-0, but
we did hold them 2 for 10 on 3rd down. And that was a key to victory that we talked about, right? Was like locking in on 3rd down. Obviously,
however, 3 were 3 for 3 on 4th down, so that makes it like basically 5 for 10. It's almost 50%, really. Yeah,
right.
Because if you're going to give up 4th down, then it doesn't really matter if you can't convert there.
Most of those were in the game was already out of hand though, and they didn't have a chance. I mean, the 1 4th down they were in, or 2 of the 4th downs where they were in the red zone and they were down by a lot, so it was like they had to go for it anyway. They weren't going to take a field goal there. When closer game, 4th and 3, 4th and 5, like maybe you take the points there.
Mariota, it was 60 for 22, 213 yards. He had the 2 TDs. We did stop their run game, 3.4 average. They got less than 100 yards rushing. Love that. Brian Branch, I know he was kind of silent last week, not silent this week. Definitely felt his presence. The only thing that I regret is and we'll look at this at the all 22 that we'll do after this. When Mariota scrambles, and gets 9 yards. I think they're in the red zone. He like kind of jumps, and Branch could have laid him out. I don't know if you remember this play or not.
When he like tries to hurdle, I don't know, he's trying to hurdle. He did put a hit on him, but yeah.
He did, but that wasn't a Branch hit. I mean, Branch had the quarterback was free up in the air, and
Airborne,
he could have he could have destroyed him. And, I don't want to hurt anybody, but man, it would have made him not want to run anymore. That's for sure.
He didn't run all that much anyway, but.
Who was the guy that didn't play very much that everyone's talking about, that you were talking to me about during the game? I'll let you talk about him.
Okay, you got to mention Roy Lopez, right? Is this when we're talking about Roy?
Yes.
Yeah, so Roy Lopez played 12. I have 12 snaps in my snap count, but he got 12 snaps. He got 4 tackles on those 12 snaps. I mean, the pressure and it was evident watching the game. We texted back and forth about this. It was just like, my God, he's in the backfield every single time. And he's just bullying these guys around. And I mean, he was making some moves too. But I mean, like, some of it was just, pure power right on the center, on the guard. He, was obviously only 12 snaps, but he shut down a couple of those running plays. And he was in on that Branch sack as well. I thought Roy Lopez had a really, really good game.
Yeah. Yeah. For definitely when you look at like how many snaps he has to how many impact plays he had, it was a crazy ratio. They had that. And even the plays that he wasn't getting like a tackle on, he was affecting the running back because he was pushing his guy so far back in the, into the backfield. So yeah, Roy Lopez gets all that. If you're interested, we're going to do the all 22 afterwards. We're going to do a separate thing. So if you're watching this later on and want to go to our YouTube feed, I cut all of Roy Lopez's plays up, and then except for the special teams plays, but I did all his regular defensive snaps, and you could see that. You'll be able to see what we're talking about. I'm sure most of you guys saw it during the game, but if you're wondering why people are talking about Roy Lopez, check out that clip and you'll see why, because it was impressive. Another player that Jack Campbell just keeps showing up week after week. That dude, that stop on that 2-point conversion that you put up on Twitter, that was a play.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Here's my thought, Jacob. That's what I said. When I grow up, I know I'm 45, but when I grow up, I want to be big and strong like that so I could just stop a man running at full speed, and then you just grab him and just stop him in his tracks and just bend him the other way.
And just pull him, right, yourself. This wasn't a rugby skirmish. Like, he was reaching and he just, Jack Campbell's bigger and stronger. Yeah, that's why, I screenshot that. It was a perfect shot, where he just denied him that 2-point. Yeah, Jack Campbell just, week in, week out, doing great. The only thing on one of the 4th downs, Jack Campbell was in a zone. And he kind of, got crossed with Ertz. There was a running back, I think, coming across too. So he kind of got stuck in the middle. That was the only negative thing I saw out of Jack Campbell, though. I mean, the dude's, similar to Hutch.
Even that wasn't like a huge deal. I mean, to me, it was like, yeah, you'd like Jack to be able to do that. But, that's a tough play. Zach Ertz is going to find the hole in that zone. No matter where Campbell lined up, Zach Ertz was going to try, They were setting that up play for Zach Ertz.
Well, but that's the thing is once he's better in coverage, once you're there, you see the tight end coming and the situation, that's probably who they're looking for. That's one of the most reliable people. Yeah. And if you let him get behind you, that's where they're looking as a soft spot. So I think it probably was it came down to, which I don't have this in front of me, but I believe there was a running back crossing and he kind of had that second where I've got to choose him or him. And that's all it took was just that misdirection to set that open, which is what the play is designed to do. But you would have liked for him to shut down Zach Ertz and make Mariota either go to the running back or, give the line some time to get some pressure on him.
Yeah. One shout out I want to give is Mullet had a really nice play over the middle. I think it was on the 3rd down or somebody broke a play up. And, Shep talked about we're going to keep going to Mullet. And last week, I know he gave up that last play, that let the Vikings ice it. But Mullet showed up again, and I think I feel more and more confident about him being a nickel. Like, he plays pretty good coverage. He got the interception 2 weeks ago. I'm okay with it. It's been bad that we've had to go to that far to our depth, but it's nice to find a player that that can do that, and eventually when DJ Reed comes back, Mullet might see his snap counts go. But if somebody gets banged up, we could pull Mullet there, put Amik on the outside. There just gives us deeper options. It just makes our team deeper.
Yeah, no, I agree. He, gave up a catch or two. I don't know about in this one, but obviously he had the big one last week. But he had good coverage on these plays. And I don't know if you noticed, but on that that Debo touchdown where like Branch had that miscommunication, Mollett was lined up over Debo, and he's the one who went on a blitz. And if Branch like covers Debo and Mariota has to think about it for a second, Mollett would have had a sack.
Yeah, I know. I watching that playback and just seeing how wide open it was just made me sick to my stomach. I'm like, oh my God. It just, you stop them, and then on fourth down is just a total breakdown, and it just stinks. So
that's the thing.
All right.
Great defense.
I think let's move on to offense, because I think.
Anyway, the other person I want to shout out is just Thomas Harper, because yet again he's filling in for Kirby Joseph, and this guy was not here in training camp at all. He gets signed to the active roster, claimed off of waivers, and he, week in and week out has been doing a really good job. He gave up that one to Ertz, but I mean, I think he had like 5 or 6 tackles, and some of these were bigger plays. So he's doing great in run support. Obviously, he's not the ball hawk that Kirby is, so we're missing that dimension from Kirby, but I think he's been filling in nicely. And just last thing, defense as a whole, we allowed 14 first downs, which ties the season low.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that. When we get to the offense, I got a big thing on first downs.
Okay.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I agree with your Thomas Harper thing. I was going to say that was my only thing. We're missing the ball hawk, because I think he might get the interception where on that Zach Ertz play. Yes. I think that Kirby probably gets the interception there. However, as going into the season, I think you and I both thought our safety depth is a worry. If one of these guys goes out, we're going to be in trouble. Well, I mean, yes, are we missing something with Kirby? Yeah, we are. I'd rather have all-pro Kirby out there, but we're in good hands, and I feel confident with him being out there. And that just, again, improves our depth down the line. Someone get injured during the game late in the season, when Kirby's back. Thomas Harper has had big game experience, but, he's played, so he's going to be able to step right in. So, yeah, great point by you. All right. You ready to go to offense?
Yep, I'm ready now.
All right. So, obviously, with the offense, Jack Campbell taking over the play calling. Huge
Dan
news.
Campbell.
Not only, what did I say?
You said Jack. Jack Campbell's calling the plays on offense. That's crazy. You pay him more.
He is doing all sorts of things, man. You don't even know what Jack Campbell's capable of. No, Dan Campbell calling play, taking over play calling was not expected. It is huge news, not only with Lions, but it was on front page of ESPN. Like, it was a third article down. So my question is, will this finally allow people to get past the meathead notion of Dan Campbell? Like, he's only a product of his coordinators. Even last week with the Vikings, guys, you guys are going to have brain drain. No one has faith in Dan Campbell. So do you think that this will help get rid of that narrative?
I hope so. I mean, we've been fighting that narrative forever, and everybody close to the team, everyone that knows this team and knows what's going on, knows that's not the case. So, for him to take over play calling and to have the type of game that they had really, really helps his case. Yes. Maybe the image of him with the glasses and the play call sheet, maybe I think he's smarter now because he's wearing the glasses.
Yeah. Old 4 eyes with his glasses, looking at his play call sheet, No, that was a hilarious scene. And that's I don't know if you've seen our thumbnail that I put up, but that's the picture. I put Dan Campbell with glasses because I think it's awesome. And it is indicative of this game. The flow of this offense was, I know we were playing the Commanders, so we're going to have to navigate. Was this the Commanders or was this Dan Campbell? I think it's a combination of both. However, we've had other games this year that we should have lit up the scoreboard that we haven't, or we just haven't looked like connected on offense. Even the Bengals game, when Bengals had bad defense, and there were times in that game that we just didn't look connected on offense. Every drive, except for the last one when we kneeled down, we got points. And we just looked like we were in rhythm this whole game.
And most of these were long drives. It wasn't even like, some of these other games where we got turnovers or, we stopped them on fourth down or, we're starting with shorter fields or starting with momentum and then we just can't get anything going. We kill the drive. These were all, starting from like our own 22, 35, 13, 32, 28, 18, 16. Like, we're all starting these drives way back in our own territory. And we're stringing together long drives, and we're effective.
Yep. Yeah, and it was I mean, the offensive line got pushed in this game, and so we were never behind the sticks, and we didn't have any penalties that knocked us back. That was a huge difference in this game too. However, I still think even if we had had an early penalty, Dan Campbell would have been able to get us out of that. And this game made me feel like how we had been running it the last couple of years. Like, just I felt confident when we got the ball that we were going to get down and score. I wasn't worried about any point during this game on our offense. It just felt like our old offense, and I felt super comfortable. I am not a John Morton hater. I wasn't like one that was calling for him, to be fired or whatever like other people, but it has shown me that I want Dan Campbell to continue calling plays because it was way better.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't bode well for John Morton that it went this way. Obviously, I'm sure he wants it to go well too. It's his team. These are his players. He's still got a huge say in this offense. But yeah, it just felt like we've got all the pieces of the puzzle. And for some reason, we're just not making a good enough picture, right? It was like always something is off. Something's not clicking. And now finally it's clicking. And I said before, it's like, even if I know the offensive line is huge, and Morton kind of said too, like, it starts with the offensive line and we have to have accountability. And he was like, the scheme is there and everything. But in my opinion, when we watched the film and when you're looking at it, even if the line is blocked like perfectly, even if Goff has time, the routes are not there. We're running the same sort of routes. We're doing the same sort of stuff that's just not working. And then instead of, making any sort of change or anything like that, we just keep trying it. And then therefore we're still having some success because of the level of players that we have and the level of team that we have. But it just felt like something was missing. We were not clicking. I mean, and even coming out of the half. So we go into halftime, we're doing really well. We come into halftime, come back out of halftime. Obviously, Dan Campbell, like, they saw something. They come out of the half and they're like, we're attacking them this way. JMO gets a big catch. That was when Tesla got a catch. Then they run the ball with Gibbs. The defense has no idea what's coming. And then there was 2 more passes to JMO when he got the touchdown. And I don't know if you saw it during the game or if you saw it afterward, but like, Dan Campbell was pumped when he made that play call. He made the play call, he sees the defense, and he's instantly stoked. And I don't know if it's that he knew that they were going to score necessarily, but he got the look that we were hoping for, and he knew good things were going to happen.
I don't know if you know this, but that drive you're talking about, the first one and a half, we never got past first down. It was first down, touchdown. Like, we never got the second down.
Everything was working, but like, that's, he came out fast again. It seems like, not that adjustments even needed to be made when we were up that big, but they went in, they saw what they liked. They were like, this is how we're going to attack and this is what we're going to do. And it worked perfectly. They just could not stop us. And obviously the line is a big part of that, but
I think the line getting pushed and us getting, being able to run with Gibbs and everything. But the thing is that I think also Campbell had just a good flow and knew when to call runs and when to call passes. And it just seemed that the other team wasn't in sync. And I don't know if you noticed this or not, and I think this is huge, that they were switching out the running backs in the middle of drives. There were some drives, and I don't think it was just because the running back was tired. I noticed that Gibbs would run it, and then Montgomery would be in there. And I think that they were doing that mid-drive because if you notice, Montgomery goes against stacked boxes. So it's like, if they know that this is a Montgomery drive, then they're going to put in defensive personnel to stop the run. With Gibbs, they put in different personnel. And I think that they were switching those things up mid-drive so that we kept the defense on their toes and they didn't know what we were going to do.
Absolutely. You're right. I mean, it, kept them guessing the whole time. I don't have it in front of me right now, but they also had several snaps where Montgomery was the back and Gibbs was out wide.
Yes. Yep.
Gibbs was in motion. Gibbs was moving around. Right. They were confusing them. Yep. This is the kind of offense that we knew we were capable of, and this is what we were hoping to see, week in and week out.
There's, and Campbell called, so he a lot of JMO crossers, which we have wanted to see, right? We've been dying to see this. Get him in space and let him do his thing. But I think what's going to unlock this offense even further is he had 2 J-Mo had 2 comeback routes in this game. And if he could, he's going to be impossible to defend. We saw this in training camp. We have not seen it that much in the game. But if he gets these comeback routes, they're going to double move someone and get an easy touchdown. Because, you give J-Mo one step, you're done because no one's catching up to him. So there was 2 comeback routes that I love to see. One was a 22-yarder. I think the other one was a 12-yarder, both first downs. But it's so hard to guard. If you got to give him like a 2 or 3 yard cushion, and if you're already given that, and they have a timing comeback route, like Goff knows he's going to go there. It's like almost impossible to stop unless you're going to put all your resources on that side. You're going to double cover him, which fine, go ahead and put more resources over there because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw it to Amon-Ra in that space over the center, and he's going to gash you there.
That's exactly why that's working too, is because of the fact that they know he's a big play threat. So they tend to do have a safety cheating over that way. I don't know if you noticed on the comeback though, that one that was a first down, that was like right after Amon-Ra got like something in his eye. He had something like in his eye or something happened like the play before. So Amon-Ra's off the field, and it may have been third down. I don't remember exactly, but then J-Mo had that comeback for the first down. But it was funny because it's almost an identical play as when they had the offensive pass interference call. So it was like
Yes.
J-Mo almost made a point to like not lift his arms up. He, with late hands to the ball and everything, he did not touch the defender at all. He just, used his route running that time.
I thought of you when he did those routes because I was like looking. I was like, he didn't even like sort of push off, like not even like the legal push off where you like kind of you nudge the guy with your elbow or give them a shoulder shrug or whatever, where you don't extend the arm. I thought of you and I was like, all right, that's clean. And both of them were like that. I watched both of the plays closely on all 22. Both of the comeback routes were super clean. All right, it is quiz time for you, Jacob. We score, I don't know if you know this or not, but 546 yards of offense in this game puts us at top 8 Lions offensive output of all time. Dan Campbell calls a game. He hasn't called what game in like 2.5 years or whatever. Calls a game and he automatically, in the top 10. So I want to know how many games in the Dan Campbell era are in this top 10. Would you guess?
So 546 is 8th all time. I think we were close to that this year against the Bears, where we like maybe 510, 515. Last year, the Jaguars was like 600, and that was like 3rd or something like that. So that's like a 100-yard gap. I'm just going to take a stab and I'll say 3 games.
Just 2. That Jaguars is number 1, 600 and some, and this one
that's
was
the most
number
yards
8.
all time was the Jaguars game.
Yep.
See, I was thinking it was like 2nd or 3rd.
Nope, it is number 1.
Nice.
At least according to StatMuse. All right. So the second question I have for you, and I want to tell you, my boys were very close at getting this. So if you don't get it, a 10 and a 14-year-old beat you. How many of the top 10 are losses of the total yardage games? How many would be losses?
So how many, like top 10 total yards? How many of these teams finished top 10 total yards?
How many of these games did we lose? How many did we lose of these top 10 games? Yeah, yep. How many did the Lions lose? So these are the top 10 offensive output games for the Lions. How many of the top 10 did we lose?
Hang on, rephrase this question now. So you're not talking like,
okay,
when you said top 10 all time, so you're just talking Lions.
Yeah, just Lions games.
Okay.
So the Lions top offensive, the top 10 offensive games for the Lions, yardage wise. How many of those did we lose?
That's hard to envision a top 10 when you go for 500 and some yards and lose the game. I'll say 1.
2. They were both in 2012, and one of them is the Matt Flynn game, where the last game of the season. Yeah. So, but we've had 2, and they were both in the same year, 2012. So we had huge offensive outputs, and we lose. And that kind of feels indicative of that time, right? Stafford's putting up huge numbers, and we still can't win. It was a Titans game that year, 44-41, I think was the score. But
speaking of Stafford, I don't know if you saw this stat. So Stafford, with that win, his last win with the Rams, finally hit 500 for his career. And this is the latest any quarterback has had their career before they hit 500 for the first time. So never until right now has he even been 500. So if they win the next one, it'll be the first time he's had a winning record as a quarterback. For his total career. Yeah. They lost his first game and they never hit 500 since.
He keeps doing things to maybe get him in the hall, but we'll see. That's a different show topic, I think. But
Yeah. I'll just say Stafford's the front runner for MVP right now.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that lines up, but it could happen. Getting Devontae Adams didn't hurt him, that's for sure. All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, we have our own Jared Goff, 25 of 33, 320 yards, 3 touchdowns. Looked in sync the whole game. Looked like Jared Goff. I have no complaints for Jared Goff. He looked like he owned that game, and he looked like he was in a rhythm. And I think Dan Campbell, set him up really well.
Yeah, I think him and Dan were 100% on the same page. No sacks either. I don't know how many pressures that he had, but I mean, it felt like an extremely clean
It was
game.
5. I think he only had five pressures that game, is what I saw. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. Jahmyr Gibbs, another, wasn't Monday night, but he still had an awesome game, right? 15 rushes, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just looks unstoppable. We're gonna see what he could do against the Eagles next week, but I'm expecting Sunday Night Football. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's on a big stage. He's going to be ready to pop.
That'll be a clash of the Lions. We're gonna see what we get if we can get any push on them. Mm-hmm. He also, like his receiving touchdown, that was another one of those Texas routes, and I mean, it's almost not fair. When they find man coverage, there's not a linebacker that's going to be able to catch up to him when the middle of the field is open.
Nope. They're going to have to get him at the line and get him off of it, like jam him, and hopefully they get pressure because, he is just unstoppable. And we've seen that so many times, right? It just looks unfair. He jukes that linebacker. So even when they try to jam him, by the time he gets out there, he jukes them before they can even without the ball, he's juking them and they can't get a hand on him. It's awesome.
It's going to end up like somebody's watching film. Somebody's going to see what happens when they call these man plays. They're going to have to just hold on to him and hope they don't call it.
Yeah.
Or just, try to trip him up or do whatever they can because it's going to be a touchdown every time.
Yeah. I think, we talked about JMO. JMO had a big game, but the guy that's kind of, was unsung in this game, but had some huge plays is Khalif Raymond. Finally got him multiple catches in a game, 4 catches for 49 yards. Again, teams had forgotten about him, and there was multiple times he's just sitting wide open. And getting him with, the ball in his hands is a good thing.
Right. They let him run, right? He had a rush, too. He had 4 catches in 1 rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's fast. Yep. He's dangerous. I really like seeing him back there on the kickoff return too. I think he only had the one opportunity. Like I said, he had a collision with somebody, which is not very frequent that Khalif is going to get in a collision with somebody and the other guy's going to get hurt and slow to get up. But
yeah, I know. Yeah. He instantly went down too. You knew that defender was concussed because he just went limp when he fell to the ground.
Right. That one catch though, that deep catch where they said it was incomplete or whatever. They had to challenge it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
that was obvious. It was an obvious catch.
Right. What? Come on, guys.
I know. Yeah. It should have been one of those quick reviews. It shouldn't have had, Dan Campbell should not have had to challenge that. Right. That should have been a quick review.
Well, but this was obvious. We didn't talk about it before though. But then when he threw the challenge flag about, I think it was Debo, when they were oh, maybe he bobbled it or whatever. Do you think that was a real challenge? We don't think he got that, or do you think that was just an extended timeout?
With Dan Campbell, I have no clue. I mean, it was pretty when it happened live. I saw he didn't catch it cleanly on the first thing, so you're always wondering about the feet. But on replay, if anyone's observing in the box and telling Dan Campbell to challenge that, then shame on them because that was pretty obvious. I don't know if they didn't ask him about it. That would have been a good question, whether he just made that call on his own or whether, they they told him. But
yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't hurt anyway. So if it was close and they decided, hey, let's, we already hit one, let's just go for it. And then worst case scenario, you do have an extended timeout, even if you thought there was a chance they were going to overturn it.
Right.
I just when I saw the replay, thought right away, I think this might just be a breather for the defense then.
Yeah. And he might do that. He won't say that he's going to do that though, because he already won the first challenge. So that means he automatically gets the third one. So it did not cost.
Okay.
It cost us a challenge in the sense that we can't use that challenge, but
we're up 41-16 at that point.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned first downs when we talked about the defense. We had 30 first downs in this game, which was the most all season. Okay. So we only had 15 last week, 17 the week before. The previous high was 25 against Chicago in week 2. We had
That checks out.
we've only had 3. Yeah, we only had 3 games in which we went over 20 first downs. Week 5 against the Bengals, and then the Browns, and or actually, I'm sorry, week 2 and week 3. So that's Chicago and Baltimore. Those are in Baltimore. I felt like we had a pretty good offensive plan that, going in. It would not surprise me if Dan Campbell was calling more plays against Baltimore going into that game, because he knew what kind of game that was going to be at that time. But 30 first downs. It was huge. And then I will also tell you that this was other than the Bengals game, this was the least amount of third downs that we had. We only had 10 third down plays total. That was the least amount out of everyone. So that we were getting it tells me we're getting first downs before we get to third down, right? And that's what we need to do to stay ahead of the 6.
Right.
It's just all these numbers just tell you what kind of what kind of job Dan Campbell's doing.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see going forward, like if he's going to, I would imagine he's going to continue calling the plays, but I don't know what that means for the rest of the team and the rest of the scheme and how everything else goes. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to hear his press conferences and stuff throughout the week and see what, if he's even going to give up what's changing, or, what he's going to have to delegate now.
It sounds like he's going to delegate some other jobs. One interesting thought that I had was Brian Daboll got fired today. You could see, him and Campbell have a connection. They both were on the Dolphins staff together. Wonder if Daboll comes in and just is like, an assistant. I'm not saying he comes in and replaces Morton, but he just, comes in and does stuff for Campbell that he could delegate, his job to. Stuff, whether he wants him to look at certain things or certain coverages or whatever. I could see that happening, unless Daboll wants to just stay and let the Giants keep paying them.
That's what I was just going to say, though, is, for Daboll, seems like someone that really enjoys the game of football and everything like that, especially to be around this sort of team and, keep himself out there, keep himself fresh, and, looking for essentially be looking for an offensive coordinator job, I imagine, next year. But that's another way to just keep that going. And like you just said, the Giants are already paying him. So it's not we're going to be dishing out big money, or we're pretty much set with most of the core spots, but he could just be, like you said, offensive advisor or, assistant regional manager.
Yeah. Well, and we play the Giants in 2 weeks, so that would be hilarious.
Yeah, right.
If we get
forget the practice squad player, we want the coach.
We'll just get the coach right in here. Yeah, we'll know everything. Yeah, that's next level right there. You're hiring coaches away from other teams.
Now it's got to happen.
So I will say that the offense, this is kind of like what I wanted, like in that Tampa Bay game where we could have went up really big early because, we kept getting turnovers and we just weren't. I mean, we won that game comfortably, but we could have been up by so much in the first half. And if we went up 21-3 because they couldn't stop us, and they went 3 and out in the first in their first drive, and then we go up and score, and then we let them have the big return, so then they get 3 points, but then we go and score 2 more times before they can get any more points on the board. So I love seeing it. I asked, and the keys to victory is to have like a complete game, and this is what I'm talking about. Just like the defense stopping them, the offense just doing their job and scoring. And I wanted just to see positive drives, like convert some third downs, get just pin Commanders back. But the Lions did even better. They just scored on every drive.
Right, that's how you do it. Don't ever punt the ball. No, you're right. That was a good example of the Tampa Bay thing, though, of like the short yardage and the momentum and stuff like that. And yes, we won the game comfortably, and there was never, but it just felt like something was missing. Like the whole time, it was just like, okay, we left a lot of meat on the bone.
Yes. Yeah. And it was just there. I mean, there was stuff in all the games that we just felt like we weren't doing stuff we're used to doing. Dan Campbell's asking the press conference today was like whether 8 weeks was enough to evaluate, his, John Morton. And he said yes. Because, it was around this time that the Anthony Lynn thing happened in his first year. And I don't see the two as the same necessarily. Jared Goff said he didn't see them as the same. I just think that Dan Campbell just has a better read on the flow of this. And, and Anthony Lynn just seemed to be calling a different game than Dan Campbell wanted to call the first year.
It's got to be what Goff was talking about, is instead of this being like two people with differing opinions, wanting to go call the game one way or another, this is kind of just one of those things where Campbell knows what he has. He has been here longer. He has a vision of what he wants the offense to be doing, like it was last year, and that's what we stuck with. That's what's working.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do we talk about this? I don't know about John Morton being up in the booth. I think we might have talked about this last week.
We did talk about it, but I think we had differing opinions, because I said that I would prefer for him to be in the field. And I think you had said that you didn't really care as much.
I don't really care, and I don't think this is the difference about it, because I think he just feels more comfortable up there. But I do think there is something for Dan Campbell to be on the field, and maybe it may be the best situation here. John Morton's up there. He could see things and relay that down to Dan, and then Dan could just call it, because Dan and Jared Goff, it just seemed to be very in tune with each other, and that it seems like that would be hard to develop everywhere else. And if you and I both know if Jared Goff is comfortable and feeling good, then this offense is going to just go and just produce at a super high level.
Right. My thing is having that availability of being there and talking to your players and seeing what they see, and having that the whole time the defense is on the field. Yes, he can call down there. He can communicate what he needs to communicate. The players can get up there and communicate, but it's just not the same as being down there and being into it. And of course, if it's not Morton, somebody else is up there. I know that Brunell and most of the other position coaches are down there on the field as well. But you've got other offensive people that are going to be in the booth and can relay what they're seeing. You get the game film, you get the different pictures and stuff like that. But I just think when you have the coordinator, the guy calling the plays upstairs, it's almost as if the quarterback is not in the huddle with you. And it's it just makes a big difference. That's why I just felt when it first happened, I didn't put as much stock into it when they were well, he's not going to be on the field. He's going to be up in the booth. I kind of was you know what? I don't know why that matters as much. But then as the weeks go on, I'm okay, this is more important than I thought it was. And that's why I think it might have been last week or the week before when we talked about it. That's when I was I would rather him be out of the booth and be on the field with his players. So maybe maybe this is the right thing to do, is if Dan Campbell's calling the plays, then you can leave him up there and let him, observe what he's observing. I just want the offense to look like this every week. It doesn't matter to me who's up, who's down. As long as it's firing like this, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. The offense looking like this looks awesome. 5 for 10 on third downs. We were 2 for 2 on fourth downs, which essentially means 7 of 10, right? Extending drives or, scoring touchdowns. So it was an amazing offensive display. I have no complaints on offense whatsoever.
Nope. I really want to move on this week because I nailed these.
You did. You smoked it. Roar alert. Let's get into that. I said Hutch. I would not give myself credit on this one. I mean, not that Hutch played bad, but he did not have any signature or standout plays. He almost got a sack, and then that was the play that Branch ended up getting a sack on that one. You, however, said Goff, and give you credit on that. That was a nice pick.
So I didn't see any of the clips or any of the stats from this one for Hutch, but I did see during the Steelers and Chargers game, they displayed where it was the most times you've been chip blocked, the most snaps where you get chipped or get help, and Hutch was second to TJ Watt. That's how often that they have a tight end or a running back or somebody chipping him. He doesn't ever get one-on-one. So I didn't see how much they did that this week, but that tends to be a factor. And they call plays purposely to get away from him. So
yep. So good job on the roar alert. I was like you on the grit guarantee. I said Goff goes over 300. I do get credit on that. And you said that J-Mo was going to have the best game of the season. He's going to touch the ball at least 6 times. He had 6 catches, did not have any other, runs or anything like that. Did have the most yards he had all season. So you definitely get credit. He would have had even more, but he dropped that 7th pass from Kyle Allen at the end of the game. Just lost focus for a little bit.
I think Jeremy or somebody had posted like he was getting close to like career highs, right? I don't know what his career high is
really?
for receptions and stuff, but somebody had posted that he was knocking on the door there. So
Yeah.
yes, shouts out to J-Mal finally being able to be involved a little bit more, and I kind of think Dan Campbell's going to be utilizing him like this.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm all for it because I
Yeah,
want to
right.
see some explosives, and I have a feeling that we're going to see more and more as the season goes on. Great game. Super happy to have a win. I know that the Commanders. I got to remind myself that this is the Commanders team that's been injured, but you made a great point, and you just helped me remind me. We did that. We did what we were supposed to do with this team. We went out and just beat them soundly. And in the NFL, you shouldn't take those lightly. Beating a team soundly is not easy thing to do.
Right, especially coming off last week where the Vikings were that, by all standards and everything, that should have been a win for us. Even if it was a little more difficult, it should have been a win for us, and it wasn't. We fell flat. So yes, we needed to do what we were supposed to do, and we responded in a big way.
Yep, exactly. You have any other final thoughts?
No, I'm good. Good team win.
Right.
Like I said, I only have some minor knocks on the special teams, but that didn't matter in the grand scheme of it anyway.
Yep. No, I'd like to get those things cleaned up, but at the end of the day, we blew them out. Looked really good. Seahawks continue to look really good. They could be a really good playoff matchup. My hopes is that they get knocked out before we have to see them.
Yeah, right.
But they looked really, really good. Rams look good, and we'll see them later on this season at their house. So that'll be a good measuring stick for us. And then obviously we got the Eagles next week, and that'll be another great measuring stick.
Big games coming up.
Yep.
Let's hope the Eagles hang on to beat the Packers tonight. We're recording this Monday night, so
yeah, as I'm recording this, the first points of the game were scored with about 10 minutes left in the third quarter. It's 3-0 Eagles. So, yeah, low scoring affair here, but that tells me
they both equally suck.
Yeah, let's just say that. And the Packers have not looked good for weeks. They have not looked good for weeks on the teams that they've won, but obviously they lost last week at home versus Carolina, but they have not looked great against these teams.
Right now, it's midway through the third. Jordan Love has 39 passing yards, but he's also been sacked 3 times. So I don't know exactly. It says he lost, or he's fumbled it twice too. Yeah, lost one. So
yeah. Yep, I saw the one he just lost, but the Eagles haven't been able to do anything either. But I think that's more Eagles offense than Packers defense.
Right.
We'll see. So, all right, we're going to end the pod here. If you guys are listening audio-wise, we're going to jump back on and do all 22. And so we're going to leave that's up copyrighted on YouTube. We're okay to put it on there. We just can't monetize it, but it's something that Jacob and I both enjoy seeing. And I think a lot of people enjoy doing it, but we're just going to do it as a separate video just so that we could leave this one up there without getting a copyright hit on this video. So there'll be 2 separate. So if you're wondering where the all 22 is, it's going to be a separate one. So just look on our channel and we'll do that. I'll try to link it in here too so you could see it. So anything else, Jacob?
No, I'm good.
All right. For Jacob, I'm Jason. Victory Monday. Let's go, Lions.